All right, so I want to talk to you about some of the study guide questions for your midterm. So looking at number 1 and number 2, both of these ask you to solve for a specified variable. It kind of starts out rough because those are kind of some of the harder problems on the study guide. But how I would approach number 1 is anytime I see fractions in any equations, it's just a policy. If you see a fraction, clear a fraction. So we want to get rid of this fraction. Think of this as being over 1. We can either do it by timesing through by the LCD. That's a method we use a lot. But if there's only two terms, a fraction equals a fraction, you can do the cross products, right? Because it's a proportion. So you can say 1 times that, or sorry, I think that's an I actually. I'm going to differentiate. That's an I, and this is over 1. So on your study guide, it's just printed with a big line, but it's an I. So I times this quantity, NR plus R, equals 1 times NE. So that gets rid of the fraction for us. Now, the letter we're solving for is N. You'll notice it's here and it's here. You have to consolidate the letter you're solving for, get it onto the same side. So we need this one out of the parentheses. So I distribute. And you'll notice 2 N terms. It's up to you if you want to bring both ends to the left or take both ends to the right. It's the same deal. It may look a little different, but it'll be equivalent. So I'm going to take my N terms to the right and let this NE stay on the right side. This INR becomes negative when brought to the other side. And this IR is on the left, bring it down. Now, the trick on these is if you've got 2 different terms with that variable and you're trying to get it just written once to solve for it, you have to factor it. It has to be factored out. We can't combine these terms. They're not like terms. So the only way to get N alone, we're solving for N, is to factor it out. So we factor it or pull it out, divide it out of these 2 terms, leaving the E here and the I and the little r over there. All right, now because it's factored, it's N times that parenthesis, we can divide that parenthesis off to get that to cancel and leave N solved for. Do the same thing to this side. And that's our answer. I, capital R, over E minus I, lowercase r. Now, that is, I believe, the way it's listed. It's multiple choice. So you look through your choices, and that is an answer choice. It is answer choice A. If it wouldn't have been a choice up here where I made my decision whether to go left or right, if every sign were changed to its opposite, it would be equivalent. If you had a negative IR, a negative E, and a positive I little r, it's an equivalent answer. So there won't be 2 equivalent answers on a multiple choice. It'll just be one form of the correct answer, and this one does make the form that was listed here. All right, number 2 is actually a little bit easier than that one because here we had to tackle a fraction. Here we won't have that to deal with. We are solving for the variable r. So there's an r inside this parenthesis. I want to factor or get that distributed and out of that parenthesis. Notice if the directions were solved for A, it is solved for A. That's what's happening here now. But we want to rearrange it so it's solved for R. So I distribute to get that parenthesis taken care of. P times 1 is P. P times NR is PNR. The variable I'm solving for is R. There's only one term in this one that contains an R, so that's kind of nicer. Just that one R term, so throw anything else to the other side to isolate the R term that we're solving for. It's times by the P and N, so I will divide by the P and N. That will cancel those off and leave R solved for. What you do to one side, do to the other side. So also divide by the PN. And this is basically our answer. I'll just write it again below. Solving for R. So again, solving for a specified variable means whatever you got to do algebraically to get that letter consolidated onto one side equal to the rest of it. All right, moving on down the study guide, I'll work number 3 next. Number 3 says you have a triangle ABC, and the angle C is 6 times angle A. and the measure of B is 44 greater than angle A. Find the measure of the angles. So they gave us some clues about each angle, but they all refer back to angle A. So I would let X, or whatever variable you like, equal angle A. And then we can design a problem around this. I think we can. It says we've got angle A, B, and C, so we can represent each one of these. The measure of B is 44 more than A, so whatever we let A be, it's that plus 44, that's angle B. And then it says angle C, our clue is it's 6 times angle A, so it's 6x. So those are our representations within the same variable. And what we know about a triangle is the 3 angles have to add up to be 180. So we'll say these 3 angle amounts that we represented, add them together, this plus this plus this. Those 3 angle measures has to equal 180 degrees. So this will give us an equation to solve. We've got 1x and 1x and 6x. So that makes 8 x's plus 44. Then we solve this equation for our x. 6, 7, divide by 8. Hopefully that divides out evenly for me. I do not know exactly off the top of my head what 136 divided by 8. I'll figure it out here for you. It is 17. So x is 17. So that means angle A is 17. So notice your question, what does it ask? It wants all the angles. So angle A is 17. Angle B is that plus 44, so 17 and 44, let's see, is 61. So we got 61 degrees, 17 degrees, and then angle C is 6 times 17, 6 times whatever you found for x. So 6 times 17, you'll use your calculators, it'd be easier, huh? Is 102 degrees. So A, B, C to make the clues work out. All right, number 4 is our traditional mixture problem, where we're trying to either dilute something or make it a stronger mixture. What I like to do in these mixture type problems is I think about adding 2 things together. I've got some sort of bucket with an amount in it and a percent concentrated of something, and I'm adding it to another bucket that has some amount and some percent to equal a total output. We're pouring these into this bucket and it'll have an amount and a percent. So in the mixture type problems, you have an amount percent all the way across the equation, or the way I'm going to lay it out here. In ours, the clue says you have a 3 liters of 4%. So that's the amount, 3 liters. It's 4% concentrated with silver iodide. Then we're mixing it with, there's our plus sign. It doesn't say how much in this one. It says some amount at 10% to get, that sounds like an equal sign, to get a 6%. Now the thing that's kind of missing in this that you kind of have to read between the lines is the amount. This amount is going to be this amount and this amount poured into or mixed into this bucket. So these 2 are always added together for this amount in the last bucket. Then you multiply this together. 4% always change to a decimal when you put a percent in an equation by moving the decimal point 2 to the left. Percent means divide by 100, so you should move 2 left. Times 3 liters plus 10% would be 0.1 or 0.10 times x equals 0.06 of the 2 added together. And then that gives us our equation. We solve that, but I want to stop you right there and let you finish that out. So you want to go ahead and stop this.